Hari Om girls. In the elective course Information Security, we are currently discussing the substitution cipher, which is one of the symmetric key cipher. In our previous sessions, we have covered what is monoalphabetic cipher, and we have also discussed the two polyalphabetic cipher methods, AutoKey cipher and Playfair cipher. In this video, we are going to talk about beginner cipher and the Hill cipher. Let us see what is beginner cipher. So in the beginner cipher, what we are going to do, the key stream will be a repetition of initial secret key stream of length m, where m must be between 1 to 26. And this cipher is actually designed by a French mathematician, Blaise de Wegener, and this is the one which uses different strategy to create key stream. Now, one of the important differences with other polyalphabetic cipher is the key stream does not depend on the plain text characters but on the position of the characters. Now, if you observe, the AutoKey cipher is depending on the plain text characters, right? The key stream is depending on the plain text characters in the AutoKey cipher. And here in the Playfair cipher, it depends on the secret code that you are going to use, something like this. And based on this key, the key square will be created. Whereas in the case of beginner cipher, the key stream here does not depend on the plain text characters, but it depends on the position of the characters. Let us see how it depends on the position of the characters also. Now, if you observe here in the beginner cipher, the key stream will be a repetition of an initial secret key stream of length m. So, say for example, if length is m, the initial key stream will be k1, k2 up to km, and the same set of characters will be used in the key stream again and again to encrypt the plain text. Now, when we do the encryption process, it is similar to the plain text will be added with the key stream value for the ciphertext, and it will be subtracted from the ciphertext to generate the plain text. So, this is the process that is used by the beginner cipher. Now, let us see an example. We want to encrypt the message, she is listening, and the keyword that we are going to use is Pascal. So, here we are going to have the value m as 6. So, 6 is the length of the key stream. It is going to be the length of the key stream. So, m value is 6, which is obviously between 1 to 26. So, what we are going to do, the message is now divided into 6 characters each. It is divided into 6 characters each, and for each set of 6 characters, I am going to add the key stream value. I am going to add the key stream value. Then as usual, it becomes something similar to your additive cipher. So, what we do here, the plain text value will be taken. So, these are the corresponding integer values for the plain text. So, all the plain text integer values will be listed. And this is the key stream. You can observe here the first 6 characters will be added with the key stream. Then it is repeated again for the second set, and it is repeated again for the third set, and so on. And we simply add 18 and 15, which will be 33 modulo 26 will give you 7. And 7 plus 0 modulo 26 will give 7. 18 plus 4, 22 modulo 26 will give you 22. 8 plus 2, 10, 18. 11 plus 11, 22 modulo 26 will give you the same value, right? So this is how the ciphertext is generated using the Wigner cipher. So what we do here, to encrypt this message using the 6-character keyword Pascal, the initial key stream will be the corresponding integer values of Pascal 15, 0, 18, 2, 0, 11, and this will be repeated. This is going to be the repetition of this initial key stream as many times as needed, right? It depends on the length of the plain text character. So depending on the length of the plain text character, the repetition will be done as many times as required. And this is how we use the Wigner cipher. Now, Wigner cipher can be observed as the combination of M additive cipher. How? Let us assume this is the whole plain text. So, this whole plain text is now divided into different blocks of size 6 characters. So, this is going to be the first block of 6 characters, second block of 6 characters, and the remaining characters in the third block. Now, this first block S, and this is I of the second block, first character. N is the first character of third block, right? So all these 3 characters will be added with P, because that is the first character of our key stream. It produces the ciphertext. In the same way, if you see the second character is H in the first block, S in the second block, G in the third block, H, S, G. So all these 3 characters will be added with A to produce some ciphertext. And the third character is E in the first block, T in the second block, and in the third block we don't have a character. So E and T will be added with the key value yes. And this process will be repeated for all the characters in each and every block, which will be producing the whole ciphertext. So that is why we say the Wigner cipher can be seen as combinations of M additive cipher. So this is one additive cipher, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 is the value of M here in the example. Now, apart from using this method in the Wigner cipher, we have another way of this Wigner cipher, which is using the Wigner table. This table is also known as Wigner table, or it is also known as Wigner square. So using this Wigner square also we can have the Wigner cipher done. This is the square. Please observe the square. In the square, the columns will be representing the plain text characters, so it is denoted as small case letters, and the rows will be represented with key stream text. This is the key stream text that we are going to use, and observe here the key stream is represented in capital letter. Key stream is represented in capital letter, so the rows will be represented with the key stream text, right? So this is the Wigner table, and it is very easy to do the encipherment process using the Wigner table. So this row, the first row of this table shows the plain text characters to be encrypted, and the first column of this table contains the characters to be used by the key value. Now the rest of the table shows the ciphertext characters. These are the ciphertext characters. I repeat, in the Wigner table, the first row shows the plain text characters. These are the first row characters. These are the plain text characters to be encrypted, and the first column contains the characters to be used by the key. These are the key stream text or key stream characters, and the rest of the table shows the ciphertext characters. Now to find the ciphertext for the plain text, what we are going to do? we are going to take the intersection of the plain text character and the key stream text. So that intersection cell value will be the ciphertext for the given plain text. Suppose, say for example, if the plain text character is G and the key stream character is K, so that intersection will be G and K intersection is going to be Q. So G will be replaced by Q. Suppose, say for example, the plain text character here is S and the key stream character is P. So let us take S from the plain text, S from the plain text, and P from the key stream. That gives you the value H here. So the ciphertext becomes H for S. This is how we are going to do the beginner cipher encipherment using beginner table. This is an example. So the keyword is going to be Houghton, right? As we had Pascal, this is the keyword for the next example. This is the keyword. So what we have to do now, this is the message that we want to encrypt. This is the plain text character we want to encrypt. So this plain text character must be divided into blocks of the keyword, right? So here the key length is taken as 5. So based on 5, it has been divided. Okay. Or you can have Houghton itself as the keyword. Divide the given plain text based on Houghton. That is also possible. So just for the simplified representation, we are using 5 as the length of key stream, right? Now forget about it, because we are going to use only the beginner table for encrypting this. So no matter how you are going to divide the blocks. Now to encrypt, what we are going to do, we pick a letter in the plain text and its corresponding letter in the key stream text will be taken, and use the key stream letter and the plain text letter as the row index and the column index respectively. Then the entry at the row column intersection will be the letter of the ciphertext. For example, now if the plain text character is M and the key stream character is H, we are going to take the intersection of this, which will be T. So T becomes the ciphertext of the plain text M. We'll take another example. If the plain text character is N and the key stream character is also N. Suppose, say for example, this is the plain text N and the key stream is N. So what happens? The intersection of this N and this N is A. So N will be replaced by A. This is how we are going to find out the ciphertext using the beginner table. I'll show you another example. L is the plain text character, H is the key stream character. So L is the plain text character, H is the key stream character. So S is the intersection letter for the ciphertext. So this is how we find the ciphertext character by character in the beginner cipher. Now coming to the cryptanalysis of beginner cipher, we can see it does not preserve frequency of the plain text, because the frequency is not used here as it is a polyalphabetic cipher, obviously. But by finding the length of the key and then the key itself, we can break the code in the beginner cipher, which is little difficult. Even then, there is a possibility of finding the length as well as finding the key itself so that we can break the code even though it is encrypted using beginner cipher. Now, to find the length, there is a test called Kasiski test which is used for finding the length. And how it is going to find the length? It will be looking for repeated fragments in the ciphertext and compile a list of the distances that separate the repetitions. Then the keyword length is likely to divide many of these distances. So, Kasiski is a researcher who observed the following. If a repeated substring in a plain text is encrypted by the same substring in the keyword, then the ciphertext contains a repeated substring and the distance of the two occurrences is a multiple of the keyword length. Now, not every repeated string in the ciphertext arises in this way, but the probability of the repetition by chance is noticeably smaller. So, this is the observation done by Kasiski. So, if a repeated substring in the plain text is encrypted by the same substring in the keyword, then the ciphertext contains a repeated substring and the distance of the two occurrences is a multiple of the keyword length. So, this is the observation. Based on this observation, what the Kasiski test will do, it will look for repeated fragments in the ciphertext. And this repeated fragments distance will be calculated, and using this distance the keyword length can be guessed. That is what the Kasiski test is. Now this Kasiski test, after the Kasiski test, index of coincidence can be used to find out what is the length of the key and what is the key itself. This is an example. We are not going to discuss in detail the Kasiski test. I am going to just show you an example. Let us assume that this is the ciphertext. Now in the ciphertext, what the Kasiski test will do, it will test for repetition of 3 character segments which will be yielding this kind of table. Now if you observe, JSU is a 3 character segment which is repeated here and here. So the first index of JSU will be 68 and the second index of JLU is going to be 168, and the difference will also be noted. Now in the same way, another 3 character segment is sum, which appears 2 times in the ciphertext in these 2 positions. Again we have another 3 character segment BWV. So BWV appears here and BWV appears here again. So those indices are noted here. Positions are noted. Then we have MPH. So MPH is repeated again here in MPH. So that is also noted here. And for all these indices, the difference between these indices are also noted. Right? Now, what we are going to do, we are going to find out the difference between all these values is going to have the GCD value as 4. So, if the greatest common divisor of these differences is going to be 4, the attacker assumes that the key length is multiple of 4. So, with M value equal to 4, he divides the ciphertext into 4 rows. He divides the ciphertext into 4 rows. Then he is going to perform the index of coincidence to get the actual key as code. Using the index of coincidence, he will get the actual key, which is going to be the value code. So, once he gets the actual key, he tries to convert this ciphertext into plain text, and if the message is a meaningful message, he assumes that the key is going to be this particular value, right? So this is just for your information. I showed you how the Kasiski test is used. You can refer this particular site for further reading on Kasiski method and how this method is used to find the length of the key as well as the key itself, right? So again I repeat, Using the Kasuski test, the length of the key can be found, and using the index of coincidence, the key can also be found, right? So in the Kasuski test, what they are going to do, the key character segment will be identified, and how many times it is repeated will be identified, and the difference between the repeated position will also be noted. So once the differences are got, what is the greatest common divisor of the difference will be found, which can be guessed as the length of the key. So once the length of the key is identified, using the index of coincidence method, we can get the actual key. Once the key is got, we can convert the ciphertext into the plain text and check whether it produces any meaningful message. If so, we can say we have found the secret key. So this is how beginner cipher will be used for encipherment, and we have also seen how we have to secure the beginner cipher from the Kasuski test and index of coincidence. Now the next very interesting polyalphabetic cipher is the Hill cipher. Now this Hill cipher is a polyalphabetic substitution cipher. This is based on the linear algebra. And this is actually invented by Lester Hill in 1929. And here the plain text is divided into equal size blocks. Thereby it becomes a block cipher also, right? And the blocks are encrypted one at a time. Each character in the block contributes to the encryption of other characters in the block. Now this cipher belongs to the block cipher category. Let us get into the details of Hill cipher. So in the Hill cipher, what we are going to do, instead of having a key stream, we are going to have a matrix as the key in the Hill cipher. So we call it as a key matrix and not as a key stream. So in the Hill cipher, we have a key matrix . Now this key matrix is a square matrix of size m by m, in which m is going to be the size of the block. I repeat, in the Hill cipher, the key is a key matrix, and this key matrix is a square matrix of size m by m. Here m is the size of the block. So if we call this matrix as K, if we call this key matrix as K, each element of the matrix can be denoted as K, I, J, where I ranges from 1 to m and j ranges from 1 to m. Okay, now let us see how one block of the ciphertext is encrypted using this key matrix, and you can observe P1 to PM. P1 to PM is one block of the plain text. Please make a note of it. P1 to PM is one block of the plain text where the block size is going to be M. So each plain text will be multiplied with the key value for producing C1. So first block of P is used to produce the first character of ciphertext. Then the same block will be used with the second column for producing C2. And again the same plain text will be used to produce CM and so on. So here C1 depends on all the characters in the block. This is what we have to note. This is one very important point that we have to understand. Each character in the ciphertext depends on all the characters in a plain text block. So each block will be containing P1 to Pm character. So if M is going to be the size of the block, then n number of blocks will be produced by this particular cipher. Now if you observe, the key matrix in the Hill cipher needs to have a multiplicative inverse, because we are going to multiply the plain text block with the key in the Hill cipher. Okay. So let us see an example, then it will become more clear for you. Let us assume the plain text code is ready, which is mentioned as a 3 by 4 matrix. We will be adding bogus character if it is not filling the block to the last block and removing the spaces, and the ciphertext is this one, right? So let us assume code is ready is created as a 3 by 4 matrix. So this is 3 rows and 4 columns. Here M value is 4. M value is 4. So the key matrix K is a 4 by 4 matrix. It is a 4 by 4 matrix. And this is the plain text that we are going to encrypt. Now in this plain text is multiplied with the key matrix, which will be producing the ciphertext, and in the decryption process the ciphertext will be multiplied with the inverse of the key matrix, for producing the plain text. This is what we are going to do here. Suppose, say for example, if the attacker knows that M value is equal to 3, then she has interpreted 3 plain text ciphertext pair blocks, not necessarily from the same message as this one. So this will be the plain text and this will be the ciphertext. So plain text and ciphertext pairs will be collected by her, and then she is going to make these pairs. You can observe she is making the pairs, and once she has created the pairs, P is invertible. She inverts the P matrix and multiplies it by C to get the K matrix. So this is also possible, because you can observe C is equal to P into K. Therefore, if P is known and C is known, if P is known and C is known, K can also be identified. So K will be obviously inverse of P multiplied with C. So to produce K, inverse of P multiplied by C will produce K. So this is how the Hill cipher can be attacked using the plain text and ciphertext pairs, right? I repeat, in the Hill cipher we are going to have a polyalphabetic substitution cipher using the linear algebra, and here the plain text will be divided into equal size blocks. So that is what we have seen here. It will be divided into equal size blocks. Code is ready is divided into a block of 4 characters each. Then it will be multiplied with the key matrix. It will be multiplied with the key matrix for producing the ciphertext. So for producing this ciphertext 14, this plain text string block is multiplied with this, right? So that is what is denoted here. P1 to Pm will be multiplied with the first row of the key matrix, this one. So this all these 4 characters will be multiplied with the corresponding key stream characters to produce one character of ciphertext. Again, for producing this character, the entire block is multiplied again with the second column of key matrix. And for producing this, the entire block is multiplied with the third column for producing 10. And for producing 13, this entire column is multiplied with this for producing 13. So that is what is shown here, P1 to Pm, like this, C1, C2, Cm. So C1, C2, C3, Cm will be produced based on P1 to Pm and the key matrix. So this is how we do the Hill cipher, and which can be attacked by the plain text and ciphertext pair blocks if it is known. So we should be careful enough to produce these encipherment process without exposing the plain text and ciphertext pairs. Now the other 3 methods of polyalphabetic ciphers are one-time pad, rotor cipher and enigma machine, which we will be discussing in the next video. Thank you.